Namaste children, back to the chemistry class. This is again for classes 6 to 9. We are continuing with the lesson named Matter Around Us. I'll briefly tell you what we have so far studied. We understood what is matter. Okay. We understood the types of matter on the basis of physical state. Okay. Then we went on trying to understand the classification of matter as pure substances and impure substances. Now, impure substances are nothing but mixtures, and in mixtures you have got two types: heterogeneous mixtures and homogeneous mixtures. Okay, homogeneous mixtures are nothing but solutions, and that is what we have studied some details of solutions. Okay, what is a solution and what are the types of solutions? Like two classifications we studied. One on the basis of the amount of solute, saturated, unsaturated and supersaturated. We also studied one classification of solutions on the basis of the type, how many types of solutes are there. Total number of components, I must say, that whether if there are only two components, it's a binary solution, bi means two. If there are three components, ternary solution, and so on. So two types of classifications we studied. Then solubility also we understood. What is solubility? Capacity of a solvent to dissolve. Solute, solvent and solubility. We studied these technical terms. Okay. Then finally we understood why a substance is soluble in a particular solvent and other substance is insoluble. I explained the reasons for these questions on the basis of like forces and unlike forces. This topic is very, very important, and I asked questions based on that only in the last test also, and I have sent the answer sheet as well immediately on the very next day. Maybe you must have checked yourself where you stand. Okay. Then that's all about the impure substances, which are mixers. Okay. Now we are moving towards pure substances. So the matter is divided into pure substances and impure substances. We have studied some details of impure substances as mixers, heterogeneous, homogeneous. In homogeneous again we have studied their as solutions. We studied the types. Not all types of solutions we studied, because we have more categories of classifying solutions on the basis of the particle size of the solutions, as true solutions, suspensions and colloids. And we also have another classification like the nature of the solute and solvent, gas and gas, gas and liquid, gas and solid, and so on. So those classifications we will study later on, because they are the stuff of the senior classes, so gradually you will understand. I don't want to put everything together, so maybe in the next phase we will study that classification also. So after finishing that mixers part or impure substances part, we are now moving on to pure substances, and pure substances are classified basically as elements and compounds. Elements and compounds. Now let's discuss about elements quickly. On the first day, when we discussed about matter in the first teaching class itself, I have discussed about elements and the necessary information along with the total 118 elements list was sent to you, and even the periodic table also I have sent in colorful image. Children, you learn those elements with their symbols, at least 5 elements a day. Like for example, today hydrogen symbol is H, helium He, lithium Li, beryllium fourth element beryllium Be, fifth element boron B, sixth element carbon C, seventh element nitrogen 7, eighth element oxygen O, ninth element fluorine F, 10th element neon Ne. So either 5 or 10 a day. 5 enough. Next day 5. Next day 5. Within 15 days you will be absolutely perfect with these elements and their symbols. See, the entire details of each and every element you will learn gradually. Okay. No curriculum is such that in any standard that you have to learn everything about all these elements. It's not like that. Gradually you will learn about few elements and then few elements and then few more details of individual elements in intermediate level or plus 2 level and so on. But suddenly you cannot learn, everything, right? Now, knowing elements and their symbols is very, very important. Okay? So, every day, this is golden time, children. This is a golden opportunity for you to learn big list of things daily in bits. I am not saying that you have to learn everything on a particular day. The end of the day you finish this, not like that. If you have a huge number of formulae in mathematics, divide them into small bits. 5 formulae today, 5 formulae tomorrow, 5 formulae day after tomorrow. Practice, write them on the paper and check. Do not assume or presume that you know. If you know, you must apply. If you are not able to apply and not getting full marks, not able to solve questions, that means somewhere you are lacking. Understand? We cannot fool the world, children. If we try to fool the world, that means we are trying to become fool for ourselves. So let's not waste our time in that way. So in bits you prepare. Today this much, today this much, today these many formulae. Even physics also you have so many formulae. You have units and dimensions. Practice CGS units, SI units. Without that, all of your calculations will go wrong in physics. Because in physics, when you do calculations or problem solving situations when you come across, you must have uniform units in the numerator and denominator. If you are having SI units of a particular quantity in the numerator, excuse me, in the denominator also, you must have the values in SI unit only. But in your question, they give it in CGS units. So you must convert either SI units to CGS unit or CGS units to SI unit. Then only you will be doing calculations. Otherwise, you will get absolutely wrong answers, and the wrong answers will be such that you may go wrong in tens and hundreds and thousands also. That much variation will come. So therefore, be careful, children. When you are studying science, there must be connectivity. Some children are, I learned to know that some children are not understanding physics, chemistry, etc. Maybe there is one reason that you are missing the connectivity. If you don't understand the previous thing, you will not understand the next thing. So what you do, very simple. Watch the videos from the beginning. Watch videos from the beginning. Okay, then you will be able to establish connection, and you will be able to visualize the relationship between A concept to B concept and B concept to C concept. So when you are trying to understand science, imagination power is very, very important. Now say I am giving a statement. Element is the purest substance. Element is the purest substance. I mean, you think that where is the element? Where is the element? The whole matter is made of elements only. The building blocks of the matter is nothing but elements containing similar type of atoms. Now, containing similar type of atoms, where are the atoms? Who has seen atoms? We said that the atoms are the tiny particles, smallest particles, which cannot be seen by naked eye. So, how can I write the answers pertaining to the things which I cannot see? So, there comes your imagination power. You will have to imagine that yes, matter is made of elements. Elements consist of similar type of atoms. If I say that the diamond is made of carbon element, if I say that the diamond is made of carbon, absolutely. Diamond is one of the purest form of carbon element. Now, if I ask you which elements are present in diamond, you will say carbon. Now, which atoms will be present in diamond? The answer is carbon, because an element consists of similar type of atoms. So simple, children. But neither you have seen carbon atom, nor I have seen carbon element. But its form I have seen. Diamond you must have seen in the movies, maybe not in the real situation, because it's very expensive. Like gold, you have gold. Of course, it's not 100% gold that you have. Even 24 karat gold is also consists of some impurities. That's a different story. But assume that it's a pure gold that you can see. It's a pure gold. So that means it is made of what? Gold atoms. It is made of gold atoms. But this gold is the combination of millions of gold atoms, because gold is very, very, very tiny. Atom is very, very tiny. So this much, like for example, 1 gram gold consists of so many atoms, so many gold atoms. So such small particles are atoms. So we need to visualize, though it's not there. These concepts are known as abstract concepts. You must have studied concrete noun and abstract noun. In abstract noun, you understand the examples like feelings, emotions, anger. These are the examples of abstract noun. Can you see them? Can you see the feelings? Can you touch feelings? Can you see touch the anger? Can you touch somebody's emotions? No. That's why they are known as abstract things. Concrete means you can touch. It's a concrete. Okay. So likewise, there are so many concepts we need to imagine. And you need to be in a position to associate concept A with the concept B and concept B with the concept C with your imagination power. This is known as association of concepts with imagination. This is the way you understand and get the grip of a science subject, children. Once you get the grip in science, you will become so curious and will try to learn more and more. Otherwise, science looks like a devil if you don't understand things. So therefore, be careful. Check the connectivity. Watch the videos from the beginning if you have any confusions, and then go ahead. I'm sure you will understand. You can understand. You can. Science is not anything which cannot be understood. Science must be understood more easily because it is in us. Science is everywhere. Science is within us. Science is around us. It's not something unknown. Okay, you can understand, but you'll have to really get up. Okay, so pure substances are classified as elements and compounds. Two types. First, we will discuss about elements. Okay, now elements are, again I am repeating this statement, elements are the pure substances which cannot be further broken down into simpler substances. Number one, they are pure. Second, they can't be broken down. For example, you have a substance like carbon dioxide, in which carbon and oxygen, both the elements are there. Now, by heating or by any other process, I can break the bond between carbon and oxygen. I can separate oxygen. Then what is left? Carbon, I got carbon and then oxygen. Right? See, when you burn a piece of paper, the same thing happens. Ash remains. See, piece of paper is made of what? I am taking a piece of paper. This is made of what? This is prepared from what? Wood. Wood is made of what? Cellulose. Cellulose. What is the formula of cellulose? Wood is made of cellulose. Since papers are prepared from cellulose, the formula of paper is almost, except adding some ink or something to draw lines, that's a different story. Otherwise, the paper which is prepared from wood is also nothing but cellulose. Now, the cellulose is C6H10O5 N times. This is the formula of cellulose. Okay. Now, what are the elements present? You see, carbon, 6 carbons. We don't bother about numbers. Carbon, hydrogen and oxygen. This is made of carbon, hydrogen and oxygen. Now I'll burn this. Okay. I have the cylinder also, I can do that. But anyway, you can understand this. You do at home, you burn this. What will happen? Where does the carbon, hydrogen and oxygen goes, you know? When you burn this paper, hydrogen and oxygen will go into the atmosphere in the form of water. Have you seen when you are burning the paper going water molecules into the atmosphere? You can't, because water vapor especially, water in gaseous state is colorless, odorless and tasteless, especially colorless and odorless. Therefore, though the molecules while burning, though the molecules are converted into water and going and entering into the atmosphere, you can't see. Okay, anyway, this hydrogen and oxygen is going into the atmosphere as what? Water. What is left is carbon, and the ash that you get, that black colored ash that you get is nothing but carbon. Now, try to burn ash again, nothing will happen. You keep on burning some ash for 2 days, nothing will happen, because that is the carbon element which cannot be further decomposed, which cannot be further broken down. So if you have bigger compounds in which you have more than one type of element, you can break down. Like water we have, H2O, formula is H2O. Now you can give electrical energy and break down this water in the form of hydrogen gas and oxygen gas. Okay. Now, if you want to break hydrogen further, no, it will not happen. Hydrogen atoms will not further break down into simpler substances. So that pure element hydrogen is, pure oxygen is, pure carbon, pure nitrogen, pure sulfur element, pure iron element, pure oxygen element, which cannot be further broken down. So the concept of element concept of compound or ABCDs of chemistry, which you need to understand very, very clearly. So be careful, listen again and again to the video and try to understand what is the difference between atom, element, compound, mixture. These are the most common technical terms you come across in chemistry again and again. So element consists of similar type of atoms. Elements are the purest substances which cannot be further broken down. Compounds may be broken down. They are formed by the combination of two or more than elements. Compounds, which we will study after elements. But elements are such that which are pure substances which cannot be further broken down. So examples we have, several examples we have. But these elements are basically divided into three types. How many elements are there, children? 118. Maybe I have said this for 10 times so far. There are 118 elements. There are 118 elements. Learn these elements in bits. 5 elements every day. You will be able to learn all these elements with symbols and everything. You don't have to cram atomic numbers. Automatically you will understand in the later stage. So these 118 elements are classified in the form of in three categories. All these 118 elements are categorized in three groups, or elements are classified as metals, metalloids and non-metals. Metalloids are also known as semi-metals. Okay. How they are classified? They have seen some variations in their properties, in their attributes, in their characteristic features. They have differences in their properties. Properties of metals are different from metalloids. Metalloids properties are different from non-metals. I'll tell you, for example, you know these examples. Examples of metals are iron, silver, copper, gold, platinum, zinc, chromium, manganese, sodium, potassium, titanium, zirconium, niobium, thorium, uranium, etc. So these are all metals. You know, out of 118 elements, only 7 are semi-metals. Only 7. And around 17 are non-metals. Around 17 elements are non-metals. Can you give me some examples of non-metals? Non-metals. I will define and tell you. But if you know some non-metals, which doesn't have the properties like metals which are hard, sonorous, having high melting point, high density. Okay, these are the general properties. They lose electrons during their reactions. They react with oxygen to form metal oxides. There are several properties, okay, for metals. Similarly, non-metals. Non-metals, examples like carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, hydrogen, fluorine, chlorine, etc. Sulfur. So there are roughly around 17 non-metals only. Only hydrogen is on the left hand side, which is a non-metal. In the periodic table, if you look at the periodic table, only hydrogen will exist on the left hand side. Top left corner of the periodic table you have hydrogen. That one, and the rest all the non-metals will lie in the right top corner, right top. So around 17 elements, non-metals are there, okay, and 7 semi-metals are there like boron, silicon, germanium, arsenic, antimony, tellurium, polonium, tellurium and polonium. Around 17 nonmetals are there, or semi-metals. I'll tell you, metals are hard. Gold is hard, silver is hard. I mean, all metals are not hard. We want to know, like iron is hard. I'll show you some of the metals. This is of course steel. Steel is made of iron plus carbon, and different types of steels are there. Some steels are very strong steels which are used for big machineries where they add manganese also. They add a little bit of chromium also. Actually, they are known as alloys. Iron plus some other elements they mix so that their strength will increase. It's a steel. It is also made of iron. Most of the percentage is iron, but other elements like carbon and other impurities are also added to increase the strength. Adding impurity doesn't mean that it will get spoiled or something like that. So its strength will increase. Okay. So there are so many such examples. So iron, copper, you have gold is hard, right? Then silver is also hard enough. Then there are some metals like zinc. Zinc also is hard. Last time I told you zinc metals or zinc granules. This is also hard. The zinc granules also very hard. Then copper. I have shown you last time copper powder. This is also metal. This copper powder. Copper is also comparatively harder. But only thing is that the copper, iron, they all can be, drawn into thin wires also. Okay. So that's why they are known as ductile. Metals are ductile, malleable. Those metals can be hammered into sheets. If some metals can be hammered into sheets, they are known as malleable. If some metals could be drawn into thin wires, they are said to be ductile. So usually metals are hard, malleable, ductile, sonorous. That means they make noise. You take this and you can make noise. Like now, if I try to make noise with these two things, not possible. This is calcium carbonate. Okay, it's a compound of course, and this is cellulose made of wood. Nothing but carbon, hydrogen, oxygen. All the three are non-metals. This is also made of non-metals. Okay. So likewise, non-metals, they do not make sound. So usually they are non-sonorous. Non-metals are less harder. We can cut into smaller pieces. Wood can be cut into pieces. But all metals may not be. Like iron cannot be cut easily. But there are some metals which can be, which are found to be, comparatively less harder. This is magnesium is comparatively less harder metal. You can have a ribbon of magnesium. So it is comparatively less harder. Okay. Then you have some metals which we can cut by knife, like sodium metal. Sodium is so soft, sodium, potassium, these metals are so soft that we can cut those metals using a knife. Okay. So if what I'll show you after that, when I showed some demonstrations, I'll show you. When we check their reactivity, like magnesium reacts with oxygen in the atmosphere, then sodium reacts with even water. Very fast reaction. So in those demonstrations we can understand the softness and hardness also. Right? So metals are usually hard, sonorous, malleable, ductile. They have high melting point. You cannot melt them easily. Their ignition temperatures are high. Their density is high, D. Density D equals to mass per unit volume is high. That means the particles are very close to each other. the volume occupied by the atoms of metal is very less and the mass is more. When m is more and v is less, density will be more. So they have high density, high melting and boiling points, high ignition temperature. Ignition temperature means the temperature at which a substance burns. You cannot burn metals easily. You can burn, there are some metals whose ignition temperatures are comparatively less. Like for example, paper, if you have a piece of paper, I can burn this non-metallic piece of paper, which is made of cellulose. Simply using candle also I can burn this. But if I try burning this magnesium with candle, I cannot, because its ignition temperature is more than the flame temperature of the candle. Flame temperature of candle is very small. That's why we sometimes play with the candle flame. We can do like this, putting our fingers into the flame of the candle. It's not very hot. That's what we call it as flame temperature is less. But if I use cylinder, gas cylinder which you are using at home for cooking, try to put your fingers into that flame. No, you cannot afford to do that, because that is also flame, this is also flame. Candle flame and burner flame. LPG gas cylinder burner, LPG gas burner flame and all. That flame temperature is very high. We cannot afford to put our fingers. Now, if I try to burn the same magnesium metal, it burns. Okay, if I burn with candle, even if I keep it for 10 minutes also, I doubt whether it burns. But the same magnesium metal, using the flame of LPG gas, it catches fire immediately and forms magnesium oxide. So different metals have different properties, but as a whole they are very hard. As a whole, most of them are hard, most of them are having high melting and boiling point, most of them have high densities, most of them are sonorous, right? And these are the properties of metals. And examples like iron, carbon, silver, gold, platinum, titanium, okay, nickel, palladium, etc. These are all metals. Sodium, potassium, magnesium, these are metals. Okay. Now, metalloids, non-metals I will talk about. Non-metals. Non-metals are mostly like carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, sulfur, which forms minerals and salts. Usually, most of the minerals are formed by the non-metals in combination with metals. For example, there is a group named carbonate. Carbon, oxygen, CO3 2 minus. Charges you don't bother about, its formula is CO3 2 minus. Why 2 minus, why 3 minus, why 1 minus? It's not the matter to discuss now. We will understand in the maybe the next coming topic. So, sulfate, phosphate, acetate, carbonate, nitrate, chloride, chlorate, hypochlorate, which is the part of your bleaching powder, which is being heavily used nowadays. So all these mineral groups are non-metals. Mineral species also we call it as. They are all made of non-metals. So mineral forming elements are non-metals like carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, sulfur, chlorine, bromine, etc. There are around 17 non-metals. These non-metals are generally comparatively soft, non-sonorous, okay, non-malleable. You cannot make the sheet of carbon unless they are in polymeric form. Polymers are different. Polythene, polyvinyl chloride, they are all different. They are the processed forms of carbon in the combination of hydrogen, oxygen, etc. But as an element carbon, you cannot make the sheet of carbon. Usually it exists in the form of carbon powder. You cannot make a sheet unless you mix it with something else. So usually they are not malleable, tactile. They are not very hard. They are brittle, can be broken down. So this is the element. This is the calcium carbonate having carbonate group, which can be easily broken down into pieces. Even wooden also you can cut into pieces. Papers can be cut into pieces. So non-metallic elements are less harder comparatively. I mean soft, non-sonorous. They don't make noise. Okay, their densities are comparatively less. Their melting and boiling points are, especially the melting and boiling points are comparatively less if you compare with metals. See, there are always exceptions, children, and the beauty of chemistry is full of exceptions, or beauty of chemistry is exceptions. Like we say that metals are hard. Now if I ask you, what is the hardest known substance? It is not made of metals, which are usually hard. Hardest known substance is diamond, which is made of carbon. So exceptions are always there. Okay. So we can make very hard substances with non-metals also. We need to process. Exceptions are there, but in general, non-metals are soft, non-sonorous, non-ductile, non-malleable, okay, low densities, low melting points, etc. In general, there may be exceptions. So this is how metals and non-metals, they differ in their properties. Now, what are these metalloids or semi-metals? Elements with properties of metals and non-metals. That means these elements are neither pure metals nor pure non-metals. They have the properties of both metals and non-metals. That's why they are said to be semi means half. Semi-metals or metalloids. They are known as metalloids. I mean, like boron, silicon, germanium, arsenic, antimony. Some of the properties they show metals properties, and some of the properties they show non-metallic properties. Especially in terms of their reactivity, the way they form new compounds, in those properties they differ. Okay? And usually most of the metals exist in solid state. One metal which is mercury, which exists in liquid state. Another metal named gallium, it exists in liquid state when you keep it on your palm, and then when you keep it away from your palm or keep it on the table, again it becomes solid. That means it's very simple to understand that the gallium metal temperature is melting temperature is less than our body temperature. Therefore, it melts in our palm. Okay. So there are some metals whose melting points are closer to our body temperature also. There are some metals whose melting point is close to or less than room temperature also. That is the reason why mercury exists as a liquid at room temperature. Okay. So there are exceptions anyhow, but most of the non-metals exist in gaseous and liquid state. There are some non-metals which exist in solid state also, and the hardest known non-metal is also the carbon non-metal only, carbon only. But nitrogen exists in gaseous state, oxygen exists in gaseous state, hydrogen exists in gaseous state, fluorine exists in gaseous state, chlorine exists in gaseous state, but bromine exists in liquid state, iodine exists in solid state, sulfur exists in again solid state, which is a non-metal, phosphorus exists in solid state. So the speciality of non-metals is that they exist in solid state, liquid state and gaseous state. But when it comes to metals, most of them exist in solid state. So this is how metals and non-metals differ. Now, semi-metals means they'll have some of the properties of metals, some of the properties of non-metals. So this is how they differ. And please go through your list of elements. I have already given all the semi-metals here, and the non-metals, all non-metals you will find in the extreme right side of the periodic table. You can easily find out. You can see in the periodic table, you can see the semi-metals which are mentioned in a different color in the right hand side. And after the semi-metals are all non-metals, mostly, not all, mostly non-metals. And one non-metal which is on the left hand side of the periodic table is hydrogen. Okay, so this is how the elements are classified as metals, metalloids and non-metals. Okay, hope that is clear. Then let's go on to the compounds. The topic compounds is still more important, children. I am rubbing this portion so that I can write something about compounds. Right from the definition, I want you to be very, very careful in understanding compounds. See, elements we understood now. The types of elements also we understood. Now, compounds are formed by the combination of elements. Got the point? Compounds are formed by the combination of elements. A single element cannot form a compound. I cannot say that carbon is a compound because only one element is there. I'll say that it's an element. It is existing in the form of carbon. The matter is existing in the form of an element, carbon. Okay? Iron can exist in elemental form. Sulfur can exist in its own sulfur form. Okay? Phosphorus can exist independently in its own phosphorus form. They are all existing as elements. But compounds are formed by the chemical combination. It is not physical combination. I'll tell you how. Say for example, last time also I have shown you, this is say copper powder and zinc metal. Copper and zinc, both are metals. Now if I mix them, they will simply form a mixture. No reaction will take place. Now I have a magnesium ribbon. Oxygen is there nearby. It is in contact with oxygen now. Do you know that? My fingers are in contact with oxygen, which is present in the atmosphere. We are under the pressure of some gases, mixture of gases, that is nothing but air, which is exerting pressure on us. Okay. Now similarly, those gases are touching magnesium, but this magnesium is not changing. It remains magnesium ribbon only. Okay. Why? There is a gas here touching this magnesium, but no reaction is taking place because they are touching physically. See, touching physically. I have another, maybe I can take some other compound also, like magnesium, not magnesium, even I can take water. I can put this in water. No reaction takes place. I can put this in water, no reaction takes place. Okay? But these metals, the same metals, when you heat with hot water, when you heat in presence of oxygen, now you can check. I'll show you one experiment. This is very important, children. This is element magnesium. Now try to understand very clear demarcation and difference between element and compound. Now I have a pure element, say magnesium. Okay, this is magnesium ribbon, so magnesium. I am switching on the gas. Wait for a few seconds. Okay, I switched on the gas. I mean LPG gas is ready with me. Now this particular magnesium is not reacting with oxygen present in the air, right? But I'll make sure that this will react. When will this react, children? At high temperature. Okay? It is wet, so now I'll show you the same magnesium reacts with oxygen. I am not going to use any other chemical. This will react with oxygen only. Earlier it was not reacting, so this is placed in presence of oxygen, it is not reacting, but I am heating the same ribbon. You just see what will happen. See, dazzling white we call it as. Now magnesium is reacting with oxygen, same oxygen. And what happened? Now when magnesium reacts with what? Oxygen, a new compound is formed. And that new compound is nothing but magnesium oxide. I am writing the formula of that now. So what I have shown, children, magnesium. So this is magnesium. This one is magnesium plus oxygen. What will happen? What will be the product? What will happen? Nothing will happen. Then you will ask, sir, just now you have shown one reaction. Now you are saying nothing will happen. I have shown the reaction only when you heat. So you must write heat on the arrow mark. When magnesium is treated with oxygen, reacts with that oxygen on heating. So you must write heat. Heat. Sometimes we write short form delta, capital delta, this is known as. That is also represents heat. Then it will form a new compound named magnesium oxide. Magnesium oxide. We have seen now how magnesium oxide is formed. Shall I show you that magnesium oxide? Okay. So you can look at this. This is a new compound formed. Absolutely white in color. The new compound formed, this white colored new compound formed or colorless substance formed is nothing but magnesium oxide, which was formed. So, compounds are formed by the chemical combination, not physical combination. Now, if I mix oxygen with magnesium physically in the atmosphere, see, it is already in contact with oxygen. This magnesium is already in contact with oxygen, nothing happened. So that is physical combination. But when chemically combined, then only compound will be formed. So I can write the definition of compounds using some technical terms. I will not give you the complete definition now. I will use some technical terms. One is chemical combination. Chemical combination. Combination, you know, combination means mixing. But how? Chemically. That means they must have a force of attraction between them. When they combine, they must be in a position to change their form and get converted into a new compound, new form. That is chemical combination, not physical combination. Physical combination gives mixers. Now if I mix this copper, magnesium, etc., if I mix them, they will simply become a mixture of things. This mixing is known as physical combination. Chemical combination means they must lose the individual elements which are reacting should lose their identity. Look at the color of magnesium. How does it look like? It is not white in color. It is not white in color. It is somewhat like silvery. Okay, I mean faded silvery color, right? Oxygen is colorless. See, this is silvery color, right? Oxygen is colorless. Oxygen is colorless. You cannot see oxygen, you know that. This is silvery, which we have seen, we can clearly see. And the oxygen is colorless. But the newly formed compound which I have shown you was absolutely white in color. So what happens when a compound is formed by the chemical combination, the individual atom elements lose their identity, and new identity is developed for a new compound which is known as magnesium oxide. Now this magnesium oxide neither act like magnesium nor like oxygen. Understand? It neither act like magnesium, which is a metal, nor act like oxygen, which is a gas, a non-metal. So this is entirely a different substance and it is known as compound. Now another technical term I will use before I give the definition of compound. So one is chemical combination. Compounds are formed by the chemical combination of two or more than two elements. I mean, here I have shown you an example of a compound formed by the combination of two elements. There may be some reactions where you can have compounds formed having more than two elements also. I'll give that example as well. I'm removing this example. Children, you know photosynthesis. Photosynthesis. I'm giving such examples which are known to us. One reaction I have given, which I have demonstrated practically. Okay, you have seen that practically also. Now I'm going to write an equation which you know very well, photosynthesis, which happens in plants. So what do they do? How do the plants do photosynthesis process? Plants use carbon dioxide plus water, CO2 plus H2O in presence of sunlight. We write H nu, sunlight and chlorophyll. Now the product which we get is C6H12O6 plus O2. Okay, when photosynthesis happens, oxygen gas is released and C6H12O6 glucose or sucrose. I mean basically in this reaction, of course, say glucose is formed. In sometimes starch is formed, sometimes sucrose, whatever it may be. So like here, this is the reaction where carbon dioxide is a different compound. It's a colorless, odorless, tasteless gas. Everybody knows. Okay. Water is colorless, odorless, tasteless liquid. You see the properties of them. Okay. When they combine chemically, you are getting a new compound. So the point here is, in order to form a new compound, it is just not elements. Compounds also can combine. Already existing compounds also can form new compound. So whenever we give the definition of a compound, like compounds are formed by the chemical combination, which I have already mentioned, chemical combination of two or more than two elements or compounds. Okay? Chemically, in a definite proportion by weight. I will explain that third technical term also with a simple example. say for example hydrogen plus oxygen. Hydrogen plus oxygen, you will get water. This is hydrogen gas. We know hydrogen is highly combustible. Hydrogen gas is lightest and highly combustible gas. Hydrogen bombs are prepared because they give huge explosions. Oxygen gas, we know that it is, without which we cannot survive. Oxygen, it doesn't burn, but it supports combustion or burning. Okay, so these two are extreme in terms of their properties. Children, hydrogen is very dangerous gas. If we get exhausted with all fuels, maybe we'll have to depend on this hydrogen in the future. But it is very, we'll have to handle it very carefully. Now, oxygen is, of course, very safe chemical. Now, this is colorless, odorless gas. It's a stable gas. It doesn't burn, but it supports combustion. Whereas hydrogen is the lightest and highly combustible gas. It gives an explosion. Okay. So these two gases' properties are entirely different. Only one thing common, which is both are gases. That's it. But their properties are different. Okay. It is made of hydrogen. It is made of oxygen, of course. So when they combine to form water, of course you have to give some heat energy initially to have the reaction. So you will get water, which is a liquid. It is neither combustible nor supports combustion. This is highly combustible. This supports combustion. This is neither combustible nor supports combustion. So entirely a new compound which is formed from two different elements, hydrogen and oxygen. Okay. Now another important thing what I am going to tell you is, whenever the water is formed, maybe you can prepare this water by the combination of hydrogen and oxygen, or I will get water by the source of rain. Maybe I will carry out a reaction like hydrogen chloride plus sodium hydroxide. I will get water plus NaCl salt will be separated. I will get water from the ground. Whatever the source you get from, the ratio of hydrogen and oxygen will be ratio of weights we have to take. Like 2 into 1, 2 gram. Oxygen weight is 16 gram. Okay. So total weight of hydrogen is 2 gram. Total weight of oxygen is 16 gram. And if you take the ratio 1:8. So always they combine in a fixed ratio by weight. I mean to say, hydrogen plus oxygen will never give H3O. No. It will never give HO2. No. It will not happen. Why? Because they combine in a definite proportion by weight. That's it. So I am going to frame the definition of compound using 1. Chemical combination. 2. Elements or compounds. 3. Definite proportion by weight. Definite proportion by weight. Proportion means ratio. 1:2, 1:3, 1:4. For example, if I say out of 100, 25% is blue and 75% is red. So what is the ratio of blue and red? 1:3. 25% and 75% is 1:3. Suppose if I say that we have 50% blue and 50% red, then it is 1:1. 10% green and 90% red, 1:9. Simple to understand the ratios. Okay. So the ratios in which the weight ratios, not number ratio, the weight ratios in which the elements combined in a compound are always fixed. Whatever the source by which you prepare, that ratio will remain constant. And that point you need to mention when you are talking about a compound. Now I will define, don't worry. Unlike elements, compound definition seems to be a bit challenging, but I will make it very, very clear. And I will tell you the definition of compound now. Compound is formed. It is also pure substance. You can also add that also, because elements and compounds are what? Basically pure substances. So compounds are pure substances formed by which combination? Chemical combination. Formed by the chemical combination of what? Two or more than two elements or compounds. Elements or compounds combined in a definite or fixed. You can write this also. Fixed proportion. You can also write ratio. Fixed ratio by weight. Fixed proportion by weight. Definite proportion by weight. These are alternative terms which we use. I am repeating again, children. Compound is formed by the chemical combination of, if you want to add pure substance, you can add that also. Compounds are pure substances formed by the chemical combination of two or more elements or compounds. Okay, it may be any pure substances formed by the chemical combination of two or more elements or compounds in a definite or fixed ratio by weight. That's it. That is the definition for the compound. Now basically compounds are of you have so many examples of compounds. So water is a compound. Earlier we prepared magnesium oxide. Magnesium oxide is a compound. Glucose is a compound, C6H12O6, which we got it in photosynthesis. Okay. Starch I have written, that is a compound. Sulfuric acid is a compound. Carbon dioxide is a compound. Sulfur dioxide is a compound. Okay. Nitric acid is a compound. Right? This one, calcium carbonate is a compound. I'll tell you some compounds which you use at home. Okay. Vinegar, acetic acid is a compound. Acetic acid. You are using lemon. Lemon is citric acid. Citric acid is a compound. This is, I am writing formulas because I can write formulas very fast. So calcium carbonate, nitric acid, sulfur dioxide, glucose, sugar, C12H2211, sugar, glucose, sugar, fructose, okay, citric acid, vinegar, sodium bicarbonate, washing soda, sodium carbonate, all these are compounds. There are n number of compounds which exist in our earth crust. Okay, so that's all about compounds, but now the classification of compounds. Compounds are basically classified as organic compounds and inorganic compounds. Organic compounds and inorganic compounds. Okay. Earlier, they used to believe that organic compounds are those compounds which are derived from living matter. That means from dead and decayed parts of animals or plants. Dead or live, whatever it may be. From whatever the sources that we get from animal or plant resources, they used to believe that they are organic compounds. Organic refers to the living matter. Organic refers to living matter. Okay. So But there were some scientists who prepared some organic compounds in the laboratory, not derived from plants or animals. They prepared in the laboratory. First time, a scientist named Wohler, he prepared urea in the laboratory, which is an organic compound. Okay. Then Kolbe, a scientist named Kolbe, prepared acetic acid in the laboratory. Acetic acid, which I have referred to, which is known as vinegar, is prepared in the laboratory. So the definition of compounds, organic compounds, as the compounds which are derived from living matter, lost its significance. Now the definition, correct definition today we write is, organic compounds are those compounds which are hydrocarbons and their derivatives. What are organic compounds? Organic compounds are hydrocarbons. Now you may ask her, what are these hydrocarbons? Hydrocarbons are the compounds of hydrogen and carbon. Hydrocarbons. Compounds of hydrogen and carbon. So do you know some examples? We have a compound named methane. It is also known as marsh gas. Okay. Then we have got ethane, propane, butane. Everybody knows butane. They are all, homologous series we call it as C4H10. So they will have only carbon and hydrogen only. That's why they are known as hydrocarbons. So why I have taken example of butane? Because the LPG gas that you are using at home is nothing but chemically a butane. Okay, it is a derivative of petroleum crude oils. That's why LPG stands for liquefied petroleum gas. Basically, butane is a gas. Basically, at room temperature it is a gas. But when it reaches your home, I have a cylinder with gas here. But when you move, shake the cylinder, it looks like some liquid is moving. Actually, it was gas, but under pressure it was compressed to a liquid. That is why this butane is known as liquefied. You have liquefied. A gas is liquefied under pressure, so it is a liquefied gas. So LPG stands for LPG, liquefied. It is a product of petroleum, crude oil. So petroleum, actually it is a gas, therefore it is a gas. LPG means liquefied petroleum gas. And what is its chemical name? The chemical name of LPG is butane. Okay. So actually butane is colorless, odorless, tasteless gas. But when there is a leakage of the gas, you will find some smell. It is not because of butane. When the gas is liquefied, butane gas is liquefied, those people add a compound which gives a smell known as ethyl mercaptan. They add a small quantity of a compound which gives a smell that there is a leakage of the gas. It is not the smell of the butane, because butane is absolutely a tasteless, odorless, colorless gas. Of course, after adding ethyl mercaptan also it is colorless. Okay, but at least we will get the smell that yes, there is a leakage of the gas. That is due to some other compound whose name I told you. So these are hydrocarbons. So what are organic compounds now? Either hydrocarbons, so these are all organic compounds, or their derivatives. Derivatives means what? I can convert this methane into methanol. Methyl alcohol. I can convert this into methanol. And this is the same poisonous methanol which was consumed by South Korean people they thought that by drinking methanol, some alcohol, maybe somebody misguided them, by drinking alcohol, the virus will be killed. But unfortunately, the alcohol that they drank was methylated spirit, which is poisonous. So they lost several people, I mean not many, maybe 50, 60 people, they have lost their lives because of this misconception. So methanol is poisonous, but ethanol is drinking alcohol. Ethanol is used in the manufacturing of beverages like rum, gin, beer, whiskey, etc., in which you have ethanol. Ethanol is not harmful. I mean, it's a habit making. Once a person starts taking alcohol, he cannot get rid of, he cannot leave the habit. That's why these are said to be habit making chemicals. So that's the biggest disadvantage of the daru or the mandu, what we call it as in Telugu. That is basically ethanol. Okay? Ethanol is also organic compound. Methanol is also organic compound. These are all organic compounds, and they are prepared from hydrocarbons only. They are directly also prepared. There are different methods, but one of the methods by which we can prepare those alcohols from alkanes also, hydrocarbons also. Okay, so these are all organic compounds which are either hydrocarbons or the derivatives of hydrocarbons. They are known as organic compounds. Inorganic compounds are means those compounds which are mineral based. Earlier also I said that mostly they are prepared from non-metals, carbonates, sulfates, phosphates, nitrates. These are all inorganic compounds. Carbon dioxide, sulfur dioxide, nitrogen dioxide. Okay, either non-metallic oxides, either non-metallic substances, non-metallic compounds, or mineral species like chloride, sulfate, phosphate, etc. They are all the inorganic compounds. Okay, most of the salts are like sodium chloride, magnesium chloride, copper sulfate, sodium sulfate, sodium bicarbonate, baking powder, baking soda, sodium carbonate, washing soda. These are all inorganic compounds. Okay, they are usually formed from either non-metals or non-metallic mineral groups like carbonate, sulfate, phosphate, etc. Children, that's all for today, and only this much you will have to prepare for tomorrow's test. Only about pure substances you have to study, in which you have elements, types of elements as metals, non-metals and semi-metals and their examples. Then compounds, definition, examples. Organic compounds, which are the compounds of hydrocarbon and their derivatives. Hydrocarbons and their derivatives are nothing but organic compounds. I'll send you one sheet containing some definitions also. Tomorrow morning or today you will get a sheet, and I'll give you those definitions. You just go through that. I'll just give you one content sheet or a worksheet. I'll send it. You go through those definitions and all. So very simple to understand, children. So compounds are divided into two types, organic and inorganic compounds. That's it. So with this, we will be finishing the classification of matter as pure and impure substances. Then we can go to the next topic in the next class. So that's all for today. Prepare well and get ready for tomorrow's test. Thank you.